Hey, and welcome to another one of Drew's book reviews. So, we're going to do things a little bit different this time around. I won't be doing a written review, just going to try out doing some video reviews without the written portion. Less time consuming and makes it a little bit quicker to get on to my next book. So, today's review is going to be The Magician King, second book in the Magician's Trilogy by Lev Grossman. So, this book picks up after the events in the first book, and we have our Magician King Quentin has been summoned back to Fillory, where he embarks on this great adventure to find the mystical seven golden keys in order to save the world and save everything from magic, because magic is being slowly taken and drained from the world. This book flips back and forth between two main characters. We got Julia and we got Quentin. There's two storylines going on in this book. Flips back and forth between the two, with Julia kind of having her flashbacks, chapters about her past events in her life, and how she came to become part of the magical world, as she never got into the same magical school that Quentin did, the magical school of Breakbills. I really liked her aspect of the story more than Quentin's, because it followed her through a really dark time in her life as she progressed through the magical stages and elements of her progression in her eventual becoming one of the world's most powerful magicians. Followed her all around the world, took her across continents and oceans until she finally became part of this group of magicians, magicians, you can say, as they were not part of the traditional schooling of magicians that most go through in order to become magicians. They were delving into the ancient realms and the powers of the gods, really, and really getting into some pretty dark magic. And the things that she had to go through, she had to deal with, were really quite intense and really took us down a very, very dark path. And in the meantime, we have Quentin and his buddies over in the world of Fillory, engaged in an epic quest to find these missing seven golden keys. Well, at first, he has no idea why he's searching for them, only that he needs to find them. At some point in his adventure, he finds himself back on Earth and desperate to get back to Fillory in order to complete his quest. He, of course, eventually does make it back to Fillory, but not first without some trouble on getting back there from Earth and dealing with river dragons and trying to find the door and the answer to where he needs to go to get back to the world that he left. I can honestly say, though, that Quentin's storyline honestly was, in a way, kind of boring and not that exciting. There was the odd part that was, kind of exciting, interesting, and fun to get into, but overall, his quest just was made out to be way, way too easy. It's like you just go here and then, oh, look, fight off a few guys, and there's one of your golden keys. He ends up back on Earth, comes back, and miraculously, while he's gone, a whole bunch of the keys were found. So, really, there could have been a lot more development in that storyline that really would have made it a much more interesting read. In fact, you could probably split up the storylines of Julia and Quentin and put them into two completely separate books and still make a good 400 or 500 page book out of each of their storylines, versus this 400 page book where you're kind of mashing both storylines together into a single volume. And I really think that that could have actually made a lot better. I think they could have done, more challenges in finding these golden keys. Could have made it much more difficult. Really make a good epic fantasy out of it. But Lev Grossman really didn't do that very well on Quentin's side of the story. On Julia's side of the story, it was done very well, though. I really think we could have expanded that quite a bit. Really enjoyed reading her side of the story, and I think there's definitely much more to it and much better executed versus Quentin's side of the story. In the first review, I mentioned this is a lot like a Narnian knockoff. Well, it still kind of has that Narnian feel to it in this book, in this volume. I think overall, as far as the story quality goes and as far as progression of the story, it moves a little bit away from that Narnian aspect into more original story elements, which I think is an improvement, certainly, on the last book. Overall, I would say this book definitely improved upon the last book, and I would definitely give it a little bit of a higher rating. So instead of a 5 out of 10 stars, I'm going to say, or 5 out of 10 bookworms, I'm going to say 5.5 out of 10 bookworms. So a little bit of an improvement there, which is good because it needs it. A friend of mine said, don't worry, the story gets better. The trilogy gets better as you go along. Well, this one's a little bit better than the last one. I certainly hope the final volume is better than this one. So, of course, the next volume will be Magician's Land. I'll be reviewing that up next as the final in this trilogy, so hopefully it does improve, as a friend of mine told me it does, and we'll certainly see once we get through that book. I want to thank you very much for watching, and of course you can visit andrewsbookreviews.wordpress.com, and you can subscribe and comment below. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.